Eight of Cups family. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot and welcome to your short horoscope for Scorpio season. Happy November, guys. It's definitely a very intense month, to say the least. Scorpio season is always intense. It just is. It's about the changing. It's about the transformation. It's about the new growth, which often entails the shedding and the letting go. I like to always remind people that when we look at the whole of a season, it's very much deeply connected to the seasons in the Northern Hemisphere. So to get a good idea of what Scorpio is about, you want to take a look at what's happening in nature right now. What is going on is there's a certain amount of death taking over our environment. Things are not thriving. There's a lot of beauty in death, which is why if you are lucky enough to be in the Northern Hemisphere, in more of the North American regions where the leaves begin to turn these beautiful colors and everything looks vibrant and beautiful and alive, and then things start to shed, the leaves fall off, and we see the bare bones of what's going on. And that's what Scorpio season is. It's the shedding so that we could see the bare bones of things. Scorpio also represents the underworld, the swamp, and oftentimes during Scorpio season, we tend to find out information that was otherwise hidden from us. Now, that could be due to a million different things, from external circumstances, other people lying to you, other people manipulating the situations, or it could just be how you manipulate or, disempower yourself in some way. Scorpio represents kind of the investigator, and it also represents, in financial terms, a reconciliation. So it's a great time for assessment. Oftentimes you look at nature, again, going back to this nature, and we tend to see the animals that are getting ready for the winter months, getting ready for their hibernation, making sure they have enough food, making sure that, and this is kind of where we're at mentally as well. We're in the preparation for winter. A lot of us are assessing our finances in certain ways as well. And you'll see this play out absolutely this month as far as the economy goes. There's going to be a lot more questions coming up, and we're going to want to get to the bottom of stuff. Why does this work that way? Why is this happening? What does this mean? You'll probably, I often see, because Scorpio does rule an investigative and journalism kind of thing, you're going to see a lot of news stories come out that could be somewhat shocking, and it could really change the way that you look at things. And I've been telling everybody, I don't care what side you're on of the political game, or if you're just completely sick of it, there's no way we're not affected. And it's probably a good idea to pay attention to what's happening with a healthy amount of detachment. And the Jupiter in Aquarius is going to help us with that. We can't be so attached to outcomes. We know that with Jupiter moving through Aquarius, and we're definitely going to know that when Jupiter starts to move through Pisces, that this is not a time for attachments. It is a time of release and letting go and understanding where we are in the bigger picture of things. The saving grace is we're moving into Sagittarius season, and that's going to be a beautiful, hopeful, regenerative time if we put in the hard work now. So end of October, most of November is going to be really getting to the bottom of our shadow work. This is going to fall in a different part of all of our charts. So for some of us, we're getting to the bottom of where we are financially. What's holding us back? What's stopping us from making these transformations? There's going to be an emphasis on our need for freedom. Obviously, as you could say, things are playing out in the collective as a need for freedom. A lot of people are afraid that their rights are being stripped from them, and that Venus and Sag, and then as Mercury starts to move through Sag and the sun moves through Sag, there's going to be a bigger emphasis on our freedom. And we have to figure out what's holding us back before we figure out how to become free of it, right? We've got to get to the bottom of these stories that we tell ourselves. And the great thing about Scorpio is that it's so deeply psychological. This isn't about like the little stuff. It's about really getting to the bottom of things psychologically. It's about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Now, I always say that there's always two very drastically different ways that this energy can express itself. And the lower realm of Scorpio is to be super protective, very vindictive, very secretive and private, and doesn't really like vulnerability. But these are also the qualities that it requires in order to have that evolution. And we're all clearly on this path of evolution. So if we can't be vulnerable in our relationships, vulnerable in ourselves, if we can't take those risks, then the alternative to that is that things will simply stay the same. And the fixed signs oftentimes like things to stay the same, even if they're not comfortable. However, this month, we're going to get an idea of where that comes from within us. What is holding us back? What's keeping us from making these changes? What are those old habits or those old storylines we told ourselves? What's the fear? Really, the Scorpio season is, what is the fear? And if you're doing or operating out of a place of fear, you can kind of expect to be cracked wide open in this area. You know, if we want or need certain things or people to behave a certain way or to stay the same and not allow these things to change and grow, then that's where we hold ourselves back as well. And this is a moment of breakthrough for that, as we have a new moon in Scorpio making an opposition to Uranus in the beginning of the month. This happens on the 4th, and this is a really big energy for these huge breakthroughs. A lot of us are going to figure out why we do the things we do and that we don't want to do them anymore. Now, even in terms of like our diet and our food, and what are we ingesting energetically is a super big part of the storyline this month. Now, I know I just said that we have to pay attention because Scorpio season is going to demand our attention to get to the bottom of these stories. Who do we believe? What do we believe? How's it going to affect us? How do we want to change? Of course. But there's also this energy of allowing the transformation to occur. Remember, there's things we have to let go of. So we have to take a good look at ourselves, psychologically, how we do things, how we hold on to things. And we also have to reassess, where would we be? Would we be better off if we let some of these things go? Some of us, this is like cleaning out the closets, cleaning out the basement kind of stuff. Some of us, this is reassessing our finances. You know, there's this emphasis on that freedom, which means that we're going to want to shed some stuff so we can be freer. Sometimes fate has a way of taking care of this for you. You know, oftentimes I see in these transits, you know, you want to travel, you want to go all these different places, but you have like an elder pet at home. And these transits can come in and kind of end that storyline, not because you wanted it to end, of course, but because the universe says it's time. It's time for this phase to be over and this adventure to begin. It's not always easy. And oftentimes Scorpio energy can be painful, but it's about confronting and feeling the pain and then moving through it. It's about allowing things to end so we can create the new story. A lot of us collectively are having these stories play out in our careers and in our finances, for sure. This is going to be an overwhelming theme, especially as Venus starts to move into Capricorn. This is not a comfort level for Venus at all. Venus in Capricorn means that we've got to kind of hold back a little bit. We've got to, again, like I explained with the animals, what are they doing? They're making sure they have enough food for the long winter. And we have to pull back and make sure that we have enough resources to get us through the harder times. Some of us need our resources to be a form of faith. Some of us, it's actually quite literally financially. Some of us, it's support from other people. There's needs there's wants, and there's something in between here. And it's those necessary tools that we need to recreate this next transition phase. Guys, 2022, Jupiter moving into Pisces. It's a 6-year. This is a very spiritual time for everybody on the planet. And oftentimes that means that because we have to renew our faith, there might be external circumstances that are making you really lean on it at this time. Some of us are facing losing our jobs or our careers. Some of us are facing having to take our children out of school. These are all very real considerations that are going on for people at this time. And as you could see, that all of those options can create an energetic field within us of fear. We got to look that fear right in the face and say, well, what's the worst case scenario and how do I prepare for it? What can I do to strengthen my resolve and my faith when things aren't really going my way? And what do these things mean? What do these roadblocks mean? How do we change these things? The universe wants you to change. Eclipse season is when these things become necessary. It's when the universe sweeps in and makes the changes anyways. So it's a good time to confront your fears. It's a great time to get to the bottom of the hows and whys and the whats. It's a good time to look at what you see for the future and what are the changes you can make right now in order to move forward toward that path. If anybody is suffering depression, and again, there's so much Saturnian energy for the past year or so, really the past several years, that we could feel this culmination and we could say to ourselves, man, I just don't feel good. I feel achy. I feel tired all the time. I don't feel optimistic. Of course, we're embodying this energy, and we're also embodying the energy of those that we're surrounded with by the news that we're watching, by, just all the craziness that's happening. Maybe it's a good time for some of us to address that, maybe by seeking therapy in some way, seeking some kind of healing dualities. It's a great time for that. It's a great time to dig into our dream interpretations. And it's also, like I said, a great time to look financially deeper into these things. And what do we need? Is there things that we could sell or get rid of in order to free up more financial money, to free up our time? Maybe there's sacrifices we can make so we don't have to work a full-time job, so that we can give more time to our creative projects, which are going to become so important in the next few months as that node moves to the very anaretic degrees of Gemini and Sag. And we have this full moon eclipse coming up in Taurus, and I just want to remind everybody that Taurus does rule the throat chakra, and it is in the second and third decans of this Taurus energy that we're dealing with between the eclipse and where Uranus is located. Now, the second decan of Taurus is Virgo. So again, mundane astrology, the things that are taking place now is quite literally changes for the way that we serve others. So you're looking at these changes with the police. You're looking at these mandates affecting, the medical service-oriented things, pilots, these are all people that, and even the military is ruled by Virgo. So you're looking at people, massive amounts of the collective that are going through these changes and having to confront these fears of whether, if I don't want to get a vaccine, is this worth losing my job or losing my career, or all these years of college and the investments that I put into them? These are not easy decisions. And that's where we can kind of trust these eclipses to come through and change our momentum towards our destiny. And so Venus in Sag, Mercury is going to be moving through Sag. Eventually the sun is going to catch up and move through Sag at the end of the month, closer to this transit. And Taurus also rules the throat chakra. And there's a need for expressing our self-worth here. What are our priorities? What are our values? We're going to begin to associate strongly with some very literal hopes and values that we have. What do we want that new life to look like? What do we want these new structures that we're creating to look like? And it has to be more authentic and of ourselves. Jupiter is going to demand this at the end of Aquarius. There's no more masking things. Quite literally, there's no more masking what we want and what we desire. It's just simply this energy is too big within us for it to be ignored. So it's a really beautiful time for us to assess what really matters to us. Take ownership of the things that we truly want and desire, and to let go of the rest. Now, this month is a lot about compromise. We're going to have to find the compromise. If you are in any kind of a Scorpio energy in which you can't accept a loss in some way, because Mars is going to move into that area in Scorpio, it's going to trigger our egos a lot. And again, I'm going back to those two different forms of that Scorpio energy. If we don't get our way, we could be very vindictive. We can become very manipulative. We're going to feel this need to control situations. This comes from a deep-seated, deep-rooted need to be in control so that we don't have to confront the unknown. The other side of Scorpio is if you let go, oftentimes the things we fear were never really worthy of it to begin with. So we have to allow these transformations to take place. We have to allow the dying off in order for the new growth to emerge later. That's ultimately the theme this month, guys. It's a heavy, intense month, but it's a great pause, and it's a great time to assess where we are, what we want, and how to move towards that in a better way. So in a lot of ways, you can make so much of a leap forward this month by confronting all of that inner stuff that blocks us. All right, guys, I do hope you have an amazing November. I hope you enjoy your November readings, and I'll be seeing you shortly. Take care. Bye. Hello, Virgo. Welcome to 8 of Cups Tarot, and welcome to your cards for November. I'm very excited to do this reading for you. You guys have a very exciting month coming up. Both the energy of the moons create a trine and a sextile to you, meaning there's opportunities and luck abound this month, as well as a hearty 9th house transit. 9th house is ruled by Jupiter, so it's about the higher mind, the higher self, the deep-seated beliefs. And there's no doubt through all of my readings that Virgo has been undergoing a profound transformation in their lives. Now, what I love is that this month you guys are coming out as a Page of Wands, and I'm just so drawn to this character, kind of peeking through this this magnifying glass, and it's a reminder of our perception of things. It is a reminder of how beautiful life can be if we choose to see the beauty in it. Card number 4 right below, Beauty Way, and integrating this kind of personality, the very optimistic side, which is very much available to you during this transit. And there's a choice in how you see life at this time, because your environment is that of the magician, meaning the environment is and will always be what you perceive it to be. That's simple enough to understand. If you go through day-to-day life and you look, like for an example, like you wake up in the morning and the first thought on your mind is like, oh, this bed is so cozy and wonderful. I'm so blessed to have a beautiful home to live in. I'm so blessed to be surrounded by the people that I love. I'm blessed for the job that I have, for the things I am able to accomplish. If you look at life through rose-colored glasses, life will be rose-colored, right? And I think that's really simple especially because right here we have this card number 10 of Neptune. And I think this is a graduation process to what truly happens when a Virgo relinquishes that need for perfection and focuses on the joys in life. And again, there's just a heavy emphasis on how we look at things. Now we have this Knight of Cups and this Three of Cups, which is really all about embracing the beautiful side of life. It's not really weighing in on the outcomes or the expectations. We've been talking about this for all my signs for several months now. Life is no longer going to be about the outcome. And we can't look at things that way, like, what is the long-term return of this? It's more like, this feels good in the moment, therefore it must be meant for me. And I'm going to follow this path of enjoyment until it leads me to the next enjoyable thing. And the Knight of Cups and the Three of Cups is your ability to love life exactly how it is, to truly enjoy the people that you are surrounding yourself with. Now, this may be new characters in your life. This Knight of Cups may be a love interest or a new job or a new hobby or something that just truly brings joy to your life. And the Three of Cups, I don't see any negative connotation to this at all. But the Three of Cups is probably the environment. Maybe Virgo is meeting new friends, making new connections. And it just seems like everything is flowing through this amazing synchronicity for you. And underneath these two cards, we have Magic, card number 33. I actually want to read a small part of this card for you because I think the explanation is so important for Virgo this month. When magic appears, you're invited to see the world through the eyes of wonder and awe, taking on the innocence of a child who knows that all things are possible. Infinite potential exists in the great mind, and you are being invited to call it in and recognize the dance and synchronistic events, signs, symbols, and omens given to you through the oracle of the ordinary world. This is a sign that Spirit is reminding you that you co-create your world in a sacred partnership. Your part is to dream, to intend, and to watch for the signs that show you what next action to take. Right now, it appears that you are on the right track to make your dreams come true. Great Spirit is listening and acting on your behalf. Pay attention because magic gives birth to miracles. Now, why is that so important? Again, I'm going to point to this Neptune card here in the center. And listen, Neptune can be a very tricky energy. Let's not forget that Neptune is currently residing in your 7th house, in your partnerships and close connections. Neptune has a way of feeling a little bit overwhelming. I think one of my favorite people to kind of really explain Neptune is Rick Levine, because he talks about the beauty of Neptune being so profound that it's almost too hard for our human minds to comprehend. And there might be parts of Virgo's world that they are so unused to this level of synchronicity, this level of alignment and joy and passion in their life right now, that it is almost too good to be true. And so we can teeter between this being happy in the moment and this, oh my God, is this even real? And you have to be careful of this energy, because we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in your 3rd house. In your 9th house, making an opposition to the 3rd house, which is really going to test your resistance to the negative thoughts. And we have this card, Valley of Kings, Death is transformation. It is a natural part of life. There are consequences to all actions, no matter how small. And this is a universe reminding you to not allow yourself to go into a negative form of a Neptunian state here. Now, for some Virgos, life may have been very romantic and very beautiful in the past month or so. It may have been very social, very, a lot of enjoying your time. And then I know a lot of Virgos, myself included, will kind of like take an assessment of all the things we haven't been able to do, all the mundane tasks, the things that we're behind. And our perfectionist minds are like, oh my God, but I let this go and I let this go and I let this go. But the actual task is to let these things go. And I love that we have right above this Neptune card, this Eight of Cups, which is the confirmation from the universe that you are ascending and that the beautiful parts of life that you are experiencing now are a profound part of your journey. Because it's opening up and expanding your world for you. And this is all preparation for Jupiter to start to move into your 7th house. My Virgos will have a pretty profound 2022, and right now is kind of the setting of the stage, which is also a reminder that if we put our walls up and start to not believe, or we start to beat ourselves up for the simple enjoyment of life, we could Neptune our way out of these beautiful opportunities if we start to think negatively, because remember, we are in a state of co-creating. Now we have a 6 of Wands here, and we have this 6 here, cosmic womb, the divine feminine. Again, another reminder here to tame your ego as much as possible. And for Virgo, that means to tame your perfectionism in life. If you have been out experiencing love and joy and happiness and being social and being out with people and experiencing this whole new thing, it's probably so important that you don't hold yourself to these unrealistic standards where you have to keep that part of your life going, as well as the everyday mundane tasks being perfect. Because that's where we put too much pressure on ourselves, and that's us saying, yeah, but we're a failure, we can't keep up, and then all of a sudden, 9 of Wands, those walls come right back up. And we actually start to subconsciously reject these beautiful things that have started to enter our lives. Some of you, this is a love relationship. Some of you, this is just a brand new social setting and all new friends. For some of you, this is like a hobby, and you want to spend all your time there because it's happy. Therefore, there's just no sense of beating yourself up for letting the other things go, because remember, you're ascending from those small things. You're ascending from that small-minded stuff. And the last thing that I want to see you do is reject these beautiful things. Now we have this card here of understanding. I do have to say, I have a friend in my life, and he's very good at reining me back in when I say things like, oh my God, I have no food in my house, I haven't grocery shopped, like I have to do this and this and this. And he just nonchalantly says, well, maybe the universe just wanted you to focus on something else right now. And it just has this way of taming that ego that says that everything has to be perfect and I have to be able to accomplish all of these things. We strip away our joy, we strip away our enjoyment in life and all of the good opportunities when we're constantly looking at our lives by all of the things we didn't get done and all of the ways that things are not perfect. And that is a reminder with this Page of Wands, a reminder of what you are looking deeply at in your life and how you are framing it and perceiving it in your mind. We have this benefactor, grace and generosity. And this is what I mean. If you are open to the flow of this, if you can allow this to continue without bearing the guilt or the pressure or the shame, if you allow yourself to understand that the parts of life you are experiencing now are such a profound occurrence for you, that this is exactly where you need to be. This is exactly what you are supposed to be doing. Life is supposed to be good. We are supposed to enjoy ourselves. We are supposed to fall in love and go to parties and enjoy each other's company. And when you point out every flaw and every failure and everything you didn't get to, you have a hard time enjoying those parts of lives. And I think that this benefactor, grace and generosity, might have something to do with this King of Cups. Might have something to do with somebody who inspires you to lighten up and enjoy life. Maybe this is somebody that's inspiring you to take this hobby to the next level, or to just really invest yourself in something maybe a little bit more ethereal than it is, grounded and rooted in common sense and practicality. And I think that it's so important that Virgo begins to understand how important it is to dream and to fantasize about what they truly want to experience in this lifetime. Because I know every Virgo wants their house to be clean and their work to be in order and every email returned. I know that that's all our deepest intention, but life is so much more than that. And Neptune, card number 10, card of sacrifice, means we have to sacrifice the perfection in order to understand what the universe is talking to us about now. It's about allowing yourself to dream those dreams. And I think a lot of Virgos are going to put a stop to this. I think this, something may happen in November, probably nothing ultimately detrimental, but something to remind you of the things that you haven't been getting to. And much likely, a lot of Virgos are going to be like, oh my God, forget it. I can't do this anymore. I can't play and enjoy life. I've got to get back down to business, back to schedule. And you're going to miss out on what the universe, the road that the universe is trying to steer you down at this time. And this grace and generosity, let us not forget how important the grace is. Because there's no stress in grace. There's no freaking out. There's no overwhelmed. Grace is just the allowance. And the Six of Wands also kind of speaks to me about the fear of attention. So if this Knight of Cups is a person, there might be some levels of fear that they evoke within you. Maybe it's a little much. Maybe something happens in November that makes Virgo want to just kind of retreat back to a safe place. Again, that Six of Wands has everything to do with our ego. It is also ruled by Leo, your 12th house. And how we could allow that overwhelming ego to really be detrimental to our futures. There's something about this Knight of Cups that triggers you and scares you and excites you all at the same time. And you have the choice. Are you going to sacrifice your ego, or are you going to sacrifice the fantasy and the dream? Because again, a reminder that you are co-creating in reality right now, that this dream, this fantasy, if you allow yourself to have it, can be very much rooted in reality much more quickly than you think. And this Knight of Cups is meant to come into your life and shake things up and introduce you to an entirely new way of being. And I think it fascinates you, and I think it scares you, and I think there's a lot of Virgos that are going to run back to their safe place and their old habits where everything feels normal and controllable. And if you do that, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities, because there are consequences to all actions, no matter how small. And the universe is asking you to have grace, to have understanding, and to understand that in the bigger picture, the way that we perceive this situation now is that it is such an important situation for you, because it's writing your story for 2022 and Jupiter through your 7th house. So stay positive and do not be afraid to dream this month, Virgo. You have so much potential at your fingertips. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I do hope that November is a wonderful month for all of you. Please take care, and I will talk to you very soon.